Call to order the March 11, 2019 Transportation Committee meeting. Councilman Benny Johnson is working tonight. All other members are present. Councilman Dempsey Lambert will lead us in the invocation.
Please bow. Thank you, Lord, for this day. We appreciate all of just the strength and the wisdom to move our parish forward, all our transportation needs, and complete the safe roads that we need. We ask all these things in Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If the public would like to make a comment, we've got 3 minutes. You can bring up a card. Committee Chairman's report. I'm going to make a report at the full council meeting, I guess, on the DC trip. So I'll wait on this. Moving on to number 5, acceptance of the minutes of the February 11, 2019 meeting.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. No objections. So moved. Department report. Mike Enlow. Tacey Rabelais.
Evening. If you look at our report, the 2018 road maintenance project is just wrapping up. They finished striping the roads that are listed, and they just actually opened Industrial Boulevard today. They had to do some concrete patching in there. Next week, our 2019 road package will be, the bids will be open, so we'll see who gets the next contract, and then next month we'll bring out a list of roads that we intend to build with the budget that we have. The pavement preservation, I'm still looking through the specifications and trying to manipulate them so that it suits our parish. It's kind of the preservation is a new thing with us, so we're just trying our best to get everything right the first time. And then you see the DOTD report. I've highlighted the ones that have active work going on. If y'all want to look through them, I'd be happy to answer any questions that I'm able to.
I don't think we'll have any questions.
Okay, good. So, and the last thing I attached was the pavement management report. They've been doing a really good job for us, and I'm trying to show y'all the amount of work that they're doing right now. In fact, I don't know if y'all ridden down Henry Road, but I think we finally found a temporary fix that's safe for everybody. So I just want to give them kudos. They've done a good job for us. And I believe that's it for my report.
Do we have any questions for Tacey? Any comments?
Comment.
Councilman Dawson.
Just the congratulations or thank you to the whole department, yourself, Boxcar, Mike, that the road maintenance program and the paving program has been very successful as far as I'm concerned. And I've seen a lot of progress across the parish. It's much appreciated. If we can actually increase some lane width at Henry, that would be a great project too.
They were able to a little bit more width that was there before. Unfortunately, the dishes are still right there beside the road, so there's only so much they could do. I think the width ranged from 17.5 to 20. The 2 lanes. We striped it. Or no, I'm sorry. They put down temporary striping. Or we're going to put permanent striping. I think later this week. And it should be good for at least until we go out to construction with the move Ascension.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate that I went out there and talked to some of the workers one morning. They were getting ready to do the job, and really appreciate the work that they did. Appreciate the work that Boxcar did on this, all of y'all. But it's I want the public to know that's a temporary patch job because it became so unsafe. I mean, the potholes, I drive it every day. The potholes on there, the side, the roads falling off, with the school buses going down there, it was just terrible. And I know from talking to the fire department, they've had to pay for so many mirrors on cars. When they're driving by, they take them off. That costs them money. Hopefully, this will make it a little safer until we can start the construction on Henry Road, and hopefully I'll hear that we are 99% done, because I really want that to be able to start buying right away along there in the near future, and start that clearing grubbing. But thank y'all, great job.
All right, we'll go into the Move Ascension projects if you have no more questions on the regular parish updates.
I'm sorry, Mike, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Lamb.
Are you gonna take care of the state? Or what do you take care of, Mike?
Oh, the state projects? Typically, if you have any questions on them, I don't really go through them one at a time. We've highlighted the ones that are in Ascension Parish, or any component of it is in Ascension Parish. But if you have any questions, I can go through a few of them real quick if you like. LA 42, 46% complete, time elapsed 41%. So Barber Brothers is ahead of schedule on that, even with adding that third culvert at Dixon property. So that one's looking good. Can't come soon enough. For Councilman Kluwat's district, the 431, 934 intersection improvements are well underway. I think that one looks to be on time, ahead of schedule, actually. The Highway 44 turn lanes, I think they're moving along quite fast. And it's four different intersections. I think we have 621 Germany Road, 931, that's Germany Road, and then the one by Vayons, Parker. So those are coming along nicely. The one that's not on here that's kind of within the Move Ascension is in a ramp-up period is the Babin Road Bridge Replacement, all-system bridge program we put and we tracked it in the Move Ascension program. We got the purchase of the right-of-way as one of our test projects for the program, and then we moved utilities. So that one got let out, and they're within the 45-day ramp-up period. So DOTD is taking over from now. It's their contract, and they'll replace that bridge on Babin Road. Any other questions on the DOTD projects? All right. So we'll get into the Move Ascension projects. If anybody has any questions or specifics in the first spreadsheet, I can go through those. But we're moving along. I know Henry Road, Councilman Lawler, you asked about that one. This completion is going to be to the end of the design services. So that 70% will jump up to a 95% once we're into the right-of-way and the final plans get approved. So I think that should be coming in the next couple weeks, from what I understand. So we're close. Appreciate the patience on that.
Was that sarcastic?
Yeah, I got that. Thanks. I can go through any of these. Councilman Lambert, Todd, I know you're interested in the Roddy Road corridor, as we are as well. I think in the next couple of months we can get a clearing and grubbing let out for that, for the two segments with all the intersections. So that'll be good to come.
Great job.
Looking forward to that. Tiggy Duplessis is moving right along. I think we're going to jump up quickly into final plans very soon on that, so that percentage will jump up. Germany Road and Duplessis, those are federally funded through the CRPC STBG greater than 200,000 people grant. So those are scheduled out a little later, but they're moving right along. We've got some things we're working with the school board and a couple of developments along Germany Road that we're working with right now to make sure we don't design or do anything that's going to be have to be torn up by the school board with the new school coming or those new developments. So we're trying to work with them and really kind of foresee what they're going to do in combination with our projects. Are there any questions on any other specific projects?
Councilman Dawson.
So the Ashland to St. Landry, where are we on that?
Talked to the parish president today, waiting to still talk with some of the refineries, the plants in the area, and see where they're at with funding some of that. So latest.
So don't we have that funded in the Move Ascension? Is that set to be funded in Move Ascension?
Right now, we have funding for for all the projects in Move Ascension.
Okay. So I want to just make sure that I have, the last page here, Mike, with, that we talk about funding.
Oh, yeah.
So we have, according to my quick calculations, the parish has committed about $40 million into this, which is $5 million in traffic impact fees, $10 million that we took out of the reserve, and $25 million that we bonded. And, I'm seeing about $64 million that we now have to use on these projects. So we've increased this by over 50% of what we
Right.
put in. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So the $9.3 million are from CRPC funds that were dedicated to Ascension that weren't used, and we have a meeting this week with CRPC to see where we can use those. I've talked to DOTD and tried to get them moved to Loosemore and 941 with no avail. So there's a lot of things we can do with the money. There's also apparently a lot of things we can't do with the money. So, but they are going to be used on these projects. We've got their word on that. We're just going to talk to them this week about which ones. The rest of the other $7.6 million allocation is for the fiscal year 2020 to 2022 grant projects from CRPC. So that with the increasing impact fees brings it up to just under $64 million for the program. So, and that could grow by about $1.5 million each year if we decide to put more money from the Transportation Road Construction Fund into the Move Ascension program for other projects.
So again, thank you, HNTB and Mike and your crew, but I also would love to see us have some asphalt on the ground.
Yes, sir.
So I realize we have all this preliminary work that has to be done to make the drawing, to do the studies, the evaluations, but really we're in our fourth year. Is that right? Or at the third, we're really kind of at 3 years, I guess, in the Move Ascension.
No, not even that.
2017, we didn't start in 2017?
Well, yeah, but
I think,
we're about
May.
2.5 at this point.
yeah, May.
Okay.
May 2017.
Anyway, it's a great job.
Yeah.
I like the leverage that we get, and I can't wait to see the cones in somebody else's district.
I'm with you. You can't come fast enough. I want it just as much as you all do, so we appreciate that. Any other specific questions? Some of you have seen this before, some of this stuff, but I kind of, we wanted to put the funding and budget comparison on this slide just to show you, again, that with the sales tax in District 2 brings in, that's 2/3 of 1/2 cent. Councilman Lambert, you're well aware of that. It's anywhere from $6 to $8 million a year to the road construction fund. That's over 1,100, probably near 1,200 Paris Road, lane miles of Paris roads right now. So that's what that funds, $6.8 million for 1,200 miles of road. So it's easy to do the math there. Any other questions on Move Ascension stuff?
I've got a question on 930.
Yes, sir.
Where do we stand on that? I know I was talking to Representative Bacala today. We want to make sure this continues to move. It looks like we've done everything from the parish's point of view.
Right. From my understanding, it's still to Division Administration, Office of Contracts. There's no really holdup on it. We're waiting to get our first payment of, I think, 3 years of payment for the $5 million. The parish, what we're doing, our consultant is going through those plans, and I think should be done by the end of this month, and we should have it to a point where we can move utilities on that job. So we're not being held up by doing anything. We're waiting for the stamp of ownership to come to us, and then the agreement was 930. They're not going to bring that up to snuff. We're getting the plans and the right of way.
Correct.
The other roads that we took in, the little small section of Gold Place, or all of Gold Place, and then the little small sections of the frontage roads, won't be actually taken under our maintenance system until they do the upgrades to those roads and bring them into a good condition. So I'm not sure when that'll be. It could be in the next 2-3 years. So But we will definitely get the payments over the next 3 years.
Want to make sure that there's no delays or
I'll check
any
again.
issues with
Yeah.
getting that 9:30 thing completed, getting the paperwork signed.
Right. I'll check again tomorrow. And if Representative Bacala is on it as well, I think we're getting them from all angles, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like to me there's any issues or holdups on that, so.
Okay, good. And funding looks good. We can always spend that money.
Yes.
We got 5 million in traffic impact fees?
I think we have more than that now, every, any new development that gets approved gets more into those funds. It's separated into 3 districts. We budgeted, I forget how they're arranged. I think it's the northern part, maybe is District 1 or 3, but we're allocated this year's, in 2019, 3 million of the 5 million total to go to the Move Ascension project. So when we get these into a phase where we can put out the construction contracts, we're going to designate and show how much of the funding from each bucket is going to each project, kind of like the state does on the interstate projects.
Yes.
Shows the federal match and all that. So I think it'll be interesting to see that the impact fees are going to some of those projects.
And
We're
we're
going to be
lanes.
limited on the roads you can put that on.
They are. They have to
Yes.
be approved in that package. So some of the turn lanes, 73 in Brown, 73 Henry, 73 Oakland, 930 just happens to be one. We can use it on any of that. The Henry roundabout at 930, 929 and 930 roundabout, and a few others.
Okay.
So there's other projects in the southern, that second half of the impact fee district we can use money to. I just have to get that allocated through the budget.
But that 5 million there, that's for the entirety of all 3 districts?
I want to say it's up to maybe, we probably, the 5 million is probably less than it is. It's probably around 6.2 right now. I'll have to check with Jerome. But that's kind of something we've been regurgitating in this report. So without checking with Jerome in planning, I'm not sure exactly how many fees have been paid, but it's definitely not under 5 million, so. It's growing.
It's growing.
It's growing.
We are only collecting 70% though. I mean, we were giving up about 2.3, 2.4 million because we're not collecting the full amount
Right,
from the new developments.
okay, yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Just make sure we know. We're giving up transportation money that we can use to be doing roads because we're only collecting 70%, not 100.
Because
Okay,
the glass is 70% full.
excuse me?
The glass is 70% full.
Wash that jaw. Okay, do you have anything else to add?
Not unless you have any more questions, I'm done with the report.
No more questions, okay. Moving on to item number 7, approval of contract with Sigma Consulting Group for ANTA, amount of $49,636 to develop 2 separate and distinct traffic calming policies, one for Ascension Parish arterial and collector roadways, and number 2 for subdivision roadways.
Right, this is something that I think we've all been wanting for some time. We get a lot of calls, I know you do, Councilman Lawler, about people speeding through neighborhoods, and Councilman Lambert, you as well. And the first thing people want is a stop sign. And so we go out there and we take counts, and a stop sign's not how you slow down traffic. So that's what all the standards tell us. So what else can we do? Well, go through a speed bump. Well, nobody wants speed bumps or speed humps, as we saw in Tiggy Duplessis. So this policy is going to create this effort's going to create a policy so that we can work with those homeowners that may have problems with speeders and have problems with people not stopping at stop signs and whatnot, to help us kind of implement some of these traffic calming measures, whether it be striping or narrowing effect of some of the roads. There's a bunch of different things you can do to kind of play with the mind on these small roads and get people to slow down. So Sigma has done this before, and Brian with Sigma is here tonight. If you have any questions for him, we're excited to get this going. Just a little small effort, and I think it's going to make a big impact because it's really going to take us. We're going to partner up with the people in the neighborhoods, and if they want it, they're going to have to show us that they want it, and we're going to walk through the process of getting it done. So that's what this policy is going to do. It's going to get that, ironed out. We're going to bring it to you all to put in an ordinance once it's complete. And that's what that's about.
Councilman Lambert.
Mike, you might want to call him up.
Sure.
that's common, they're more or less, I mean, I've seen a few in Baton Rouge where they take and, in the center of the road, they put shrubbery and different things in the center, and it makes you slow down to go around. What other calming procedures you have?
Committee members, I'm Brian Harmon. I am with Sigma. But prior to joining Sigma, I spent 20-some years with Public Works in Baton Rouge. The last 12 years of that was as Deputy Director and Director of Public Works. So I've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly with all these. We did have a procedure in place there. We had, I don't know, about 22 different things that you could do. You can narrow, as Mike had mentioned, you can narrow lanes. You can put in dividers. You can put in little roundabouts. You can put planting islands, speed humps, speed bumps, speed tables. There's stop signs. There's all sorts of different things. And that's part of what we want to do is help put together maybe a system of warrants and things that can be implemented. Put a process in place that is actually the community that is going to be placed in is part of the process of deciding what needs to be done. One of the difficult factors that we always faced in Baton Rouge was, who was involved in that decision-making process? How far out into a subdivision or into a community area did the request go for them to decide what to be done? So that's part of what our whole goal is to help put together the details, put together the warrants, put together the process for making a community making a request to the process, look at some of the ordinances and procedures you may have in place, because you begin to constrict your streets. So you got to be careful that your EMS, your safety equipment, your fire trucks, school buses, whatever, can make it down the streets safely. And then there may be provisions and laws that are currently on the books that restrict you from putting things in the streets other than striping and stop signs. So those are all the different things we're going to do. Hopefully that answered some of your question there.
Pretty much. I don't know, just the through connectors, I'm not looking to tear up any of the center of the roads on that, but if you want to look at something in the development part where you can catch it early on, I would understand that,
What-
but,
That's part of the process we're going to look at. One, are there regulations that can be put into place that you can help get some of these things put into your subdivision development rules and regs, that they can be implemented. Let's say you're going to have a long street that enters the subdivision, it's going to be put in phases, so you get a long 2,000-foot long straightaway. So you want to do something to slow people down, be it, again, a little island of some sort or a series of islands. It could be some stop signs. Obviously, stop signs, you don't want to just put stop signs to have them, but they are effective ways in slowing people down. So we want to have something in place that's both for existing conditions, what could be potentially done, but also new developments.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Dawson.
So is this going to be, it's going to be a standard that we can use across different roadways? Is that my understanding, or what's the product here going to be?
It's, there's really going to be two procedures that we want to introduce or put forth. One is for your parish routes. And those, in many cases, may be state roads. And there's going to be probably a lot of restrictions on what you potentially could do there. But we want to put together some standards that conforms with FHWA.
So is that going to be a design, or what is that? What are you saying, standards? Is it going to be a design that we can use?
Yeah,
or-
we're going to put together a series of exhibits or templates. These are standard applications. And that goes back to the whole warrant matrix that you would come up with based on traffic volumes, the class of road, speed limits, what you're trying to achieve, may be option A, B, or C. And then it would be up to either you as the community or the subdivision, whoever is making the request, whatever type of policy you have, how do you pay for these, how do you build them, to decide what could be built.
So that's on the major highways. We're talking about subdivisions, something different.
Subdivisions, you got a lot more flexibility on subdivision, yes.
Yeah, and Councilman, with the subdivisions, what we're having is a lot of times we have a lot of amateur engineers that live in all these subdivisions. And so we want them to come into the process with us, and where they think they need a stop sign, we're gonna say, okay, let's go out there and study it and see what you actually need. So they may need a speed table, they may need speed cushions, and they may need some narrowing effects, something to put in those subdivisions.
So we're
where we-
gonna have to go and do another separate design after all this? So let's just say that I wanna put, one of these in Pelican Point.
You do, just you. I'm gonna go through, I'm just, being hypothetical. We're gonna go through, and you and I are gonna go through this procedure, and we're gonna have a policy laid out to see, what do? We go
So
take
we're not
traffic
gonna have a
counts.
design that we can go template on top of this road. We're gonna have to, all we're gonna do is have these design specifications, I guess. Is that
Right, they'll have a
Or
list
not
of,
won't even have that. You're just gonna have, I don't know, what, I'm trying to understand what the work product here is.
okay, so we're gonna have a policy that's gonna help us walk through with each subdivision on it. It's gonna be different in every case, sometimes it's gonna be the same on.
But we're
what-
not gonna have a policy for every subdivision, right?
Correct, no. It's just gonna be a traffic calming policy for subdivisions, and then traffic calming policy.
So it'll have more than one design in there? Won't have any design in there. Is that right? Am I understanding that correctly?
We'll have standard, like you said, standard templates, standard designs for certain things, speed cushions, traffic tables, traffic circles, things like that.
There would be standard details that are applicable, but depending on what you're designing for, your speed limits, say taper rates or something, lane widths, it could vary, but there will be details provided that are standards that in many cases are.
So where do you lift these details? They come out of some standard publication, is that correct?
There are numerous documents. That's part of what we'll be looking at, is some of the latest criteria that may be in place that have been, there's been numerous studies around the nation by Federal Highways. The ITE, the Traffic Institute, has recommendations there. There are procedures in place, like I said, Baton Rouge, we have a process in place there. But it goes back to putting this stuff together and putting the process in place that you can follow to implement them.
Is this gonna be on reimbursable or what? What's the base? I didn't see that in here. What is it? How you gonna get paid?
Get paid, that's all part of the work product we're gonna get.
Huh?
That's all, reimbursed for each neighborhood? I'm not sure what the question is.
No, how are they getting paid? Is this a lump sum price? Is it reimbursable? What is it, based on hours? How does it work?
They
How does the
pay-
contract that you're proposing work?
It's a lump sum, not to exceed amount, based on a proposal that they've sent us.
So it's a lump sum price?
Yes, sir.
And what are the deliverables? Do we have that in here?
Yes.
Huh?
Should be in the packet, the scope of work. Establish goals and objectives, review various current best practices, establish decision-making and assessment process, including potential criteria and warrants, community involvement process requirements, potential project implementation process, including schedules and funding constraints, schematic traffic calming details, and traffic calming policies and potential ordinances to promulgate the program.
So it says several tasks including but not limited to, so how you get a price if you don't have a limit on there? How do you guys do that? I don't know, this whole thing, it doesn't make any sense, it's not making sense to me.
What part's not making sense, Councilman?
Well, number one, I don't think on these our parish roads will ever put a tree in the middle of the road. All right?
That's option 1 of 15. We may not.
Well, I'm just using that. I
Okay.
realize that that's not all of them,
Okay.
but I don't know that we have plenty of things to slow down our traffic on our parish roads. There's other cars, mostly, or on our, thoroughfares. In the subdivisions, like I said, we looked at this in Pelican Point. I wouldn't be opposed to that in the subdivisions if we had some, I don't know, it just doesn't look like anything deliverable here. I don't know. I mean, that's just me.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
So take me through this, Mike. Are you trying to get to the most complaints of all the speeders? Or how are you trying to attract it? I mean, I know I've got
That's
quite
part
a
of
few
it.
in my district. I know everyone here 25 miles an hour is the
Yeah,
limit.
that's subdivision.
Go to Baton Rouge up there, the speed limit is 35 miles an hour, okay? So it's 10 miles different. What are you trying to do? You trying to pick the hot spots, or what are y'all trying to do?
Right, we're not gonna implement this just everywhere we want. We're gonna look at complaints. It's safety as well. But Casey Road is one that's been, recently, we're getting complaints of speeders. Get in touch with the sheriff's department, they go out and they try to track, the speeders and whatnot. But, we have no answer when it comes to how do we make these roads safer with the ditches that are close in. We can't just go safety wide in every road in the parish. So we're trying to slow people down on some of these things and trying to make a safer driving environment for everybody, so. I can send you quite a few examples of a lot of the municipalities that have done this. We just don't have one of our own, so.
Yeah, I'm looking, I think we're pretty well reasonable with the speed limit we have, 25. And, you trying to meet with some of these, so they tell you this is some of the hot, they want it, reduced even lower. And just looking at other surrounding parishes, their speed limit is 10 miles higher than ours, so,
Ours is 18. Mine's 18.
well, yeah, you have some.
But you can't, I don't think the sheriff's department can track under 25, I believe.
You
is that
won't
it is?
enforce it under 25, really.
Well, I don't know if the guns can get that. I'm not sure. There was something.
No, they don't enforce 18. They enforce like, I don't know what it is, but it's not 18.
Part of what this is we get calls constantly for, and I know when I first got on here, Todd and I had talked about it, about people wanting stop signs to slow traffic down. And in a lot of instances, it's not appropriate to put a stop sign in certain areas because people either don't stop, you end up with people running lights, or you end up with stop signs, or you end up with people that speed from one stop sign to the next. So they'll go 35, 40, and I see it all the time, to the next stop sign, then they take off again. So what you end up with is, people stopping, but they're speeding. People want speed bumps. Well, we don't do speed bumps either. We have a lot of areas, whether it's KC Road, whether it's Tiggy Duplessis, whether it's neighborhood roads all throughout the parish, that have long straightaways, that we're also continuing to build more subdivisions with long straightaways. We have no way of slowing these down. We have no regulations. And part of this, what this process will do is give us a set of regulations that we can impose on new subdivisions to prevent the speeding issue by put traffic calming measures in there. There are also, we can look at existing subdivisions, and I know Maple, I can't think of the name of it. Maplewood. Maplewood, we have a huge problem with that. My brother lives in there. They have a long straightaway, and one of the problems they have is people fly down it all the time. Now, I've had people in that neighborhood tell me that they'd be willing to give up some of their property to put a calming measure in there. But we don't know what kind of calming measures are suitable for which areas, because calming measures are all different. And there are different ideas, and I believe there are also issues with ambulance, fire engines, garbage trucks, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, Councilman Lambert, you mentioned the flower, the trees in the middle. And I think, like in Bocage and Baton Rouge has something cutting through there. Talking to DOT.
Fairway.
Talking to DOTD, Chris Ewing, who's up to snuff on a lot of this traffic engineering stuff. He said that's not really something you want to do, because you're trying to prevent, or make a safer travel environment, and you're putting something in the middle that you can hit.
Liability.
But he said a lot of people are using striping, thick striping, and it narrows or it thickens and then kind of goes back down. It kind of gives you more of a sense of narrowing effect on these streets. There's a lot of different things you can do engineering-wise, and we're just trying to get a policy to tie our reasoning to something and create processes for our department. We don't want to just go up there and just say, okay, this warrants speed humps, or this warrants this. We want to be able to tie it back to something. And then with the new developments, we want to be able to hold the engineers accountable to this standard instead of using just, best management practices, which can very well be a 2,000-foot straightaway. Nothing that says they can't do that.
William, I see you approaching.
I wanted to say that there's usually a lot of frustration in subdivisions and even roads outside of subdivisions regarding, okay, what can be done here, and they come to you with a complaint about speeding, and you have very limited options to address the complaint. You can get the sheriff out there, or in the alternative, you can have a traffic calming type of manual that sets up a procedure for every neighborhood to come in and say, we want to slow the traffic down on this street. What do we need to do? You get the buy-in of the other participants in the neighborhood. That's part of the process. But you got to have a procedure to do that, or else you're just kind of swimming against the tide in most cases, because everybody's got a different idea. But if you have the whole idea behind this is to kind of create a manual that sort of step-by-step process of what you need to do to help slow down the traffic in different neighborhoods. So we had a very good traffic calming manual in East Baton Rouge Parish. It's on the website, in fact. You can take a look at it. But it works really well. Mike came to me and said, well, we need to do something. We've gotten a lot of complaints about traffic. I suggested he talk to Mr. Harmon, and so that's kind of the way we got here today. So I just wanted to put that in. But I think one of the big, not only having the outcomes, but having the process to go through to request slowing down the traffic, I think is equal as important as having an answer to what to do at the end.
Councilman Dawson.
Okay, so I'm reading this, and you say it's a lump sum contract, but this says that not to exceed fee of $49,636. Attached is a letter with a man-hour summary and cost estimate breakdown for compensation request. All services would be billed on an hourly basis. Actual payroll rate times a discounted, I'll put that in quotes myself, markup of 2.9. So where do you see lump sum in this?
The 2.9 is their multiplier. The man-hour.
Well, I know what that is. Where's the lump sum price? Where does this say lump sum price in it?
I don't have what you're,
Well, what do you think, Mr. Harmon? Is this a lump sum contract or is it a reimbursable?
The proposal is based on reimbursement, but
Okay.
not to exceed the 40.
Okay.
And, any money's not expended, wouldn't be billed.
Yeah.
Is actually intent, a lot of this time is, meetings with, one, the council, two, the subdivision policy groups, to discuss, because these are controversial issues. And, you get the home builders associations and those groups to come in. So you got to get people on board, understanding what the requirements may be. And then also you have to have, as Michael has mentioned, a process to have a subdivision or a group make these requests. We want this. And if you want it, that's fine. But is it, individual one, or is it, 90% of the subdivision saying this needs to be done? So to make sure that, you as a council person, you're not getting the phone calls like, what in the heck are y'all doing? Why did you put this speed hump in front of my house? So it's a process to put procedures in place to allow you to achieve what needs to be done.
So I'm warming up. I'm better that this is reimbursable. The lump sum part of that, I didn't see the deliverables really was tight enough for that. So I'll make the motion that we move this forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Do we have any objections? None? So moved. Moving on to item number 8, approval of contract with Sigma Consulting Group for a NTE amount, not to exceed amount, of $30,400 to assist in developing a qualification-based selection process for federal project approval. Mr. Enlow, please explain this.
yes, I wanted to make sure we got that number changed. It's $30,423.80. I'm sorry. 30,423.80.
So add $23.80 to it.
That's the amount. I apologize, it was a oversight by my
Well, I mean, it
part.
doesn't really matter because it's approximately. Again, this is a reimbursable rate. This is a reimbursable proposal, right?
Right, but if you look at the last page, the total maximum amount not to exceed is $30,423.80.
Well, you
Based
taking
on
out the
man hours.
49,900? Not to exceed?
Wait, 39,000? I'm so confused.
If you look at the.
49.
The last page,
49,900, it says not to exceed 49,900. Are you replacing that with 30,000?
$30,423.80.
Okay.
That's what we're asking for. So, qualification-based selection sounds simple enough. The city of Baton Rouge is the
Did
only,
we have something with that change?
Mike just told me just now, I listened to him.
So we don't have anything.
wait, I'm sorry, what change you, the 30,000?
Well, you're changing 49,900 to
No.
30.
The item says $30,400. We're changing it to $30,423.
That's not what you said a minute ago.
Let me help explain from what I'm seeing on here.
That's exactly what I said.
On the second, no,
On your screen, it's got 30,423, then right under, it's got 49,900.
The item, but the item on the agenda says $30,423.80.
But it's together?
No.
These
That-
two
that-
items are together?
That's what we're asking for. This is just backup documentation, what you're
Yeah.
reading.
I think it's just a typo. Look on this sheet, look at the bottom of that sheet, the gray, the gray section.
Not to see it over here, profit multiplier.
Well, which one is it? 49,900 or 30,000?
$30,423.80.
So it's not to exceed. That's not what the letter says that their proposal is. That's signed by Mr. Williams. That's what I'm
It says
reading.
approximately $30,400 and for any additional task orders. We're not accepting that right now. We're not doing the and any additional task orders. So the item as written is what we're asking for.
So this is just for the approval of a contract for the NTE amount, $30,423.80 for
Yes.
developing a qualification-based selection process for federal project approval.
Well, I'd like to ask Sigma if they agree to that, or that was their proposal.
Yeah, the proposal was based on putting a qualification-based process for federal projects.
So what we're considering tonight, is the maximum price gonna be $30,423 and blankety blank cents, or is it gonna be 49,900?
No, for the QBS process, it is the 30,000 blankety blank.
Okay. So what you'll change
We have
that
a
letter?
motion. Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
I'll second this, but I'm
We have a
not,
second
I
for
still have
discussion.
some questions.
Yes. Mr. Enlow, will you please lead the discussion
Yeah, I
in
wanna
this?
get to the meat
And I'm
of it.
sure there, but if you would first please explain what this is, why it's important,
Sure.
and then we'll entertain questions.
Absolutely. So the city of Baton Rouge is the only municipality that I know of in the state that has a federally approved qualification-based selection process, which that gives them is the ability to put the engineering costs towards the match for a federally funded project. So right now, we can't use, if we spend $500,000 on an engineer and the project costs $2.5 million, we can't put that $500,000 as part of the 20% match. We would have to put up an additional 20% match, or whatever the match is. So that allows us to put up our already expended money on previous services if they go through this, if we select them through this process to that project. So it's a great deal of savings to go through to go to that system, that selection system.
So just to be clear, so absent this, we spend money on engineering and design work, and then we go to try and get a federal match, and the project's gonna cost $100 million to design, to build, and the federal match is $20 million, we'd have to meet the full $20 million, even though we've already spent all that design money, that
Right.
cannot go towards it. If we do this, if we spend $4 million in design work and NEPA work, et cetera, that $4 million can then go towards that 20% match.
Correct.
If the firm is selected via this process.
Correct.
Questions?
So on our Move Ascension, we don't use this process on Move Ascension?
No, this is something we're trying to create right now.
So why don't we use it on Move Ascension?
We've never had it in the parish. It's never been adopted in the parish.
Well, I
We-
figured that if you don't use
Well,
it.
this is something new.
Well, yeah, it's hard. Sometimes I get lost in some of your questions, Bill, but
Well, I get lost myself, so don't worry.
I understand. We follow Title 38, and when we select engineers, we're doing it the appropriate way.
So this is something we're not using on Move Ascension. Is this something that we will? use on Move Ascension?
The consultants for Move Ascension have already been selected, so unless we go for another round of selection in the future, no. But-
So I guess Jeff is here, why don't we use it?
Time out, because we don't have it yet. If we pass this, we can open it up to new consultants.
Well, I know, but when we hired HNTB, they're supposed to be our project manager, they were supposed to put together, you know, this is the best way for you to go and go out for bids on these and proposals. So why didn't we didn't know this process
The
went on?
parish had an ordinance for selection. It just doesn't meet the federal standards.
We never had that, that's not what you guys were aware of, Jeff?
No, Central Parish has never had the federal standard for, like East Baton Rouge Parish developed
I think it-
some number of years ago. But the parish went ahead and selected 11 design consultants separate from
Well, I know,
our
but I'm wondering why HNTB didn't say when we started to move Ascension, this is not something new in the federal process, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So right now,
DOT
we can't use the money that we're spending in Move Ascension as our match if we get federal funding. Is that correct? Am I hearing that correctly?
For the design services on the two projects, Germany and Duplessis, they won't give a credit on the, if I'm understanding correctly as well, on the federal dollars. Right now, only DOTD has a process that Federal Highways acknowledges for selection of consultants when they're getting federal dollars. East Baton Rouge Parish went through this exact process, I guess, some 8 years, 10 years ago. Longer than that? Okay. Over a dozen years ago. And right now, they're the only other parish I know that has that capability. So,
But you understand what I'm saying? I'm just
I
wondering
do.
why is it that we've been doing this for almost, I think we never figured the
2.5
number out.
years.
we started
And we,
in
and
August
we're
of
not, and
2017.
it's been around forever, and we're not.
1.5
nobody's told
years.
us.
Yes.
Yes, one and a half years.
Yeah, we
I
started in
looked at it,
August of
August of
17.
17.
Well, you started 40 years, I mean, before even.
Time goes by fast when you're old. So anyway, I mean, why are we just now figuring this out? Why are we just now realizing that we need this?
I don't know that, I think this topic has been broached before in the past. I don't know actually the history of how it
Okay.
went through.
But it's
whether it
not
went through
something
council or not.
HNTB ever recommended to us.
Yeah,
Is
well,
that correct?
And also the 11 design consultants were selected and awarded contracts outside of our involvement. We are now tasked with overseeing their work.
Okay, Jeff, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let me do this, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Since-
Councilman
I
Dempsey
mean,
Lambert.
since now that a few things come to light here, let me back that up. Won't y'all bring back something
Yes, sir.
to see if we could maybe tie this back together, or
Well, wait,
maybe look at maybe, I mean, 'cause, look, let's face it. We sink this dollars in, I
We
mean,
spend a lot of money on
we
the
should be able to
design.
get some of that design.
It's only going to be Germany and Duplessis.
yeah, can this be retroactive? No. So this can't be retroactive. We can't make it apply to people, projects that have already started. But what we can do is if we pass this and we use this qualification-based selection process, we can then go through another round of selecting subcontractors and designers for Move Ascension that can all be done through this qualification. That way, any future work, because once again, this Move Ascension process is a long-term plan, hopefully, not a 2 or 3 year thing. So this is for the future here. Now, it would have been great to have had this before. We don't. I don't think we can go back and get the funds on this. But if we don't move forward with this, we're not going to be able to ever do this in the future. I mean, this is something, it's not just Move Ascension. This can apply to any road projects,
So do we
It's
need
that-
to change the motion, or is it,
Any federal project.
any federal project.
So
do
levy,
we need to
I
modify the
mean,
motion?
Did y'all hear what Mike was saying? And
so any of the $1.2 billion in federal money we're getting for the drainage system, those type of projects as well. It's not just transportation.
Okay. I'm
That's
just
why-
asking, is there something we need to change in
Let's
the
leave-
motion?
No, we're gonna leave it as is. We're gonna bring it to the full council. We'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I apologize for
give
not
us-
making that more clear, but it's for
Please,
any
yeah.
project.
Yeah, this affects more than just transportation. This is any federal money that we get for drainage, any sewer, anything that, any utility, anything that is federal. So this could really be huge when it comes to benefits to the parish, like multi-millions of dollars.
All right, I'll leave the motion the same. We'll pick back up at that.
Do we have any objections? None, so moved. Number 9, amendment to renew geotechnical retainer contract, APS, $300,000 total shared among 3 consultants. Stacy Ravelli.
This is just our geotech retainer contract for the two geotech firms. It's time for us to renew their 3rd year. This will be the last year for them, so we just need to amend it to add time, but at the end of this year, we'll be selecting 3 more.
At the end of this year, what?
We'll be selecting three more geotech firms.
3 more?
Yes, sir.
So my
So
question,
how do we select these? Do we, I mean,
There-
how do you evaluate them?
There's a selection committee that, or
Okay.
that's how we,
So you go out with a request for interest or something like that?
correct, yeah,
Okay.
RFQ. So, every 3 years, we'll sit down and have one so that we can choose the firms. You know, we rank them, and see who scores the best. And we typically take the top 3.
So
Okay.
you wanting the motion for Gulf South Engineers testing?
Well, you got the first one.
well, I
is
believe we need to
somebody
do the
else.
first one, number 9. Is that correct for APS?
Just correct.
First one is APS. I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion
Second.
and a second. No objections. So moved. Moving on to number 10, amendment to renew geotechnical retainer contract, Gulf South Engineering.
So move.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. No objections. Moving on, number 3, amendment to renew geotechnical retainer contract, Ardeman and Associates, $300,000 total shared among 3 consultants.
Where are they from?
I'm sorry?
Where is this company located? I've never heard of it.
I'm not really sure. I think they have a local office, but I can't be positive.
Okay.
I mean, they're either in Baton Rouge or in this area. I'm just not sure where.
Okay.
I can look it up.
That's all right.
So move, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second.
Sorry.
Any objections? None, so moved. Number 12, approval for Ascension Parish DPW to install no parking signs along Alligator Bayou Road from the Fish Bayou Project's limits to the Ascension and Iberville Parish line. Mike Antelope.
Yeah, we need to, this is something that a lot of people have been parking along that route, and a lot, it's causing a problem. In order for the sheriff to write tickets and I guess tow vehicles, we're gonna need to have no parking signs. So that's what this is about.
So
Gee, it looked like they had a party there.
I'll make the motion for discussion.
Okay.
Second. Second.
We have a motion and a second for discussion. And
So is this for fishing or is this for biking?
I think most of them were there fishing. I didn't take the pictures, but we just wanted to park somewhere else and not on the road.
Shoulder.
The shoulder, correct.
It's my understanding they also have some sort of launch there. You aware of that?
I think that's Alligator Bayou.
Is that an Alligator Bayou? Okay.
I think
Oh,
that's
yeah, they're wrong.
Launch is on the opposite side.
It's on the opposite side?
by the bar,
It's actually private.
correct.
Well, I know, this goes way back. I mean, the fishing and the biking and stuff that's on Alligator Bayou now. I don't know what we have. Maybe we can, accommodate parking, but I definitely want to get the people out of the road, but, we definitely need some type of, recreation or parking or something for them there. I don't know if we could look at, Fish Bayou or where maybe we could, try to, help them along. I know right on the other side is East, Iberville Parish, but,
Does the sheriff get involved in this?
But once those no parking signs were up, yeah, he will.
But he doesn't get involved early in the process?
No, there has to be signed, he has to have something to enforce.
No, but I'm talking about, like, what's his opinion about this? Are the people gonna cause them to go and, where are they gonna park when they can't park on that shoulder?
Abbeville Parish, maybe?
Where did this come from?
Ron Savoy had taken these pictures and asked us to get this on the
Well, and I see where they have we have to get out to our gauges and the valve and everything that's there, so.
quite a bit of people. I mean, it can be quite a bit of vehicles. This is probably a light day, so.
I don't know, maybe do we need to restrict it all the way along that road or just around our facilities?
I would say let's start at the facilities and let's try to work something,
Yeah,
with our neighbors there because, but I know they have a lot of, bikers that, this is a
Do
nice
they?
route
Yeah.
that they ride and.
scenic route, yeah.
I don't wanna hurt those. And plus the fishermen, that's, fish there.
Okay. So is that your motion?
I will make that a motion that we put the no parking signs up at our, parish facilities, the gate and the gauges that we have.
Mike, let me ask this, from a safety perspective, is there a number of feet that we should do from the gate to make sure that there's, clearance? So when somebody's pulling out of that area or parking into it, do we need a certain amount of feet or? Just to make it specific enough.
I can look into that. I'm not sure if adding it right now to the motion is applicable. I'll look into what's best for sight distance and whatnot.
Well, part of my concern is if we put up a sign and it says no parking and it's too close and we allow people to park closer than what's safe, we could be held liable because we didn't provide enough sight distance. So we gotta make sure.
We could make that part of the motion that Mike and his crew will look into that and make a recommendation.
Let's do that, I don't
Okay,
see.
you're amending your motion to
Sure.
include what Bill just said.
Right.
Do we have any of that on record?
Absolutely.
So if I have this straight, we're going to amend this to ask the administration to come back with a safe sight lines and a safe distance to allow no parking around our entranceways to the locks.
Sure.
Any other areas? Just make sure. Okay.
Gauges, don't it?
I think we have a set of gauges, yeah. Also the gauges.
And the gauges.
The gauges. We could probably
Well, we just say.
come
our
up with 100
facilities. I mean,
feet or,
Okay.
Mike,
More is better.
what that is.
we'll come back with that
Okay.
recommendation.
We have a motion and a second. Any objection? None, so moved. Okay, number 13, approval to amend the contract with T. Baker Smith in the amount of $1,323,340. I don't know if that number's correct.
Yeah,
For
that-
completing the Stage O and Stage 1 work on LA 3127 extension project as described in the attached scope.
We had H&TB look at this, our program manager, for the man-hour estimate, and the correct number should be reduced to $1,269,205.
What is it? 269 what?
1,269,205.
And this is a lump sum price.
Let's see.
That was kind of a question.
Yes,
So help.
it is billed,
help-
it is a
help me
lump
through
sum,
this.
sorry.
3127 Johnson.
Yeah.
So,
So can I get William or somebody to give us I don't know if Mike, somebody give us the history of this because we This is something that we approved earlier in phases 1 and 2. I don't know if you have all that information, William? Who has it? Oh, Dennis, there's Dennis. So there was we went through and we approved for phases 1 and 2. We decided to do phase 1. I don't know, you go ahead.
Yeah, good evening. Dennis Email, T. Baker Smith. So earlier on, I guess this was February of 2018, the original contract was approved to do preliminary environmental work for phase 1, what we termed phase 1, which is from LA 70 to essentially Bayou Lafourche for the extension of 3127. As that phase progressed and was completed, there was several discussions with DOTD. I know there were several meetings that were had. HNTB was involved, as well as Mike and his crew. And the discussion was, should we proceed into a process which allows DOTD and FHWA to come to the table and help fund this project from a federal funding standpoint. And in turn, that process is the NEPA process, which is the stage 1 effort that's described in the scope. Stage 0 is essentially DOTD's feasibility process, which then the result of which is that they issue a state project number and that they further, they continue with the project as the state partner, and FHWA takes on the lead as the lead federal agency sponsor. As I mentioned, phase 1 was from Highway 70 to Bayou Lafourche. Phase 2, as it's called, will take the roadway from Bayou Lafourche back to Highway 1 just north of Donaldsonville. So in order to analyze the project in the NEPA process in stage 1 in the environmental assessment, being that the project is a capacity project of sorts, it is a bypass roadway. It's a capacity project. You really need to analyze both phase 1 and phase 2. You can't analyze portions of the roadway. You have to analyze it as a complete system in terms of the environmental assessment. So the scope that is prepared in front of you is to complete the stage 0 and the stage 1 environmental assessment in accordance with NEPA for both phase 1 and phase 2.
So let me make sure I understand this, and they pounded this in my head over the last few weeks, that if we don't use this NEPA process, we not only can't get any federal funding, but we probably can't get any state funding because it has federal money mixed in with it. Is that correct?
That's correct. As I appreciate the majority of DOTD's budget that they spend every year, and when I say majority, I believe, I don't have the exact figures, but maybe some 85–90% of that money that they spend every year is federal dollars in some form or fashion. So there really isn't a large pot of state money out there to spend on infrastructure projects. Most of that money comes from FHWA funding, and that's what you would be seeking here. So your deliverable in terms of this scope would be, excuse me, what FHWA calls a FONSI, a finding of no
So you want to
significant
tell us
impact.
what that is, FHWA?
So FHWA is Federal Highway Administration.
Yeah, okay.
So the deliverable, in this case, the decision document on the project that FHWA would issue when this is all said and done is called a FONSI. That's a finding of no significant impact. They basically send you that letter. They walk you through this process. They review all of the environmental impacts from not only wetlands, you're talking social impacts, environmental justice impacts, socioeconomic, noise, air. It's just everything that you can think of that could potentially be impacted by constructing a project. You go through that, they issue a FONSI. Once you have that FONSI in your hands, you're then eligible to purchase right away, secure the corridor, preserve the corridor, and look forward to construction whenever funding's allocated.
So just, Aaron was at Washington with us last week, and we talked to Congressman Cedric Richmond, and he seemed to be pretty excited about this project. So did Senator Kennedy's chief of staff. So we do feel like there may be some federal funds that are available for this. So reluctantly, I agree that this is necessary. I will just kind of remind the panel here that this is the money from CF that was set aside for industrial development on the West Bank, so it comes out of that pot. So I'll make the motion to approve this, to send it to the full council.
I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, it's seconded for discussion. We have a motion by Councilman Dawson, a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert for discussion. Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Look, I know we were working on a evacuation route. How will the hurricane evacuation route tie into this?
I'm not sure if I'm familiar with the evacuation route.
Well, it's the extension of 3127, so if they use 3127 as a West Bank, which is a West Bank evacuation route, and that'll get you all the way to Highway 1, and then from Highway 1, of course, you got 2 lanes to go to White Castle, but then it's 4 lanes after that. Now, one thing that we're hoping for is that,
49, Carter.
yeah, when they, they're gonna put a bridge somewhere and to tie this into it.
This is a capacity project, so it would help any evacuation route there is.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah.
All I
We'll
see
get-
is roads here that, I want to make sure we can move people
That's right.
and get them out of harm's way, is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, this is a capacity project. Most of the projects we do around here are preservation or safety projects, and this is one of the ones, Highway 42 is capacity. This is
Right.
capacity. So not many that we get are capacity, so we're looking forward to trying to get this one going.
And if I recall correctly, some of what we discussed up in DC was this has a potential for industrial growth, to help
Right.
industrial growth in that area, which, of course, leads to a greater tax base for the parish, which could really be huge for us.
Yes, and of course, and I apologize, Councilman Lambert, I wasn't certain that you were speaking about the West Bank Expressway or West Bank Corridor project, but certainly one of the major issues with the West Bank Expressway is Downsville, the city of Downsville. So, of course, it's long been discussed that 3127 would be a portion of that corridor. The right-of-way is already purchased, it exists, DOT doesn't have to buy any more right-of-way. There's 2 lanes now, except from St. Charles on to Booty, there's 4 lanes. So obviously, this project and the alignment that would come out of it would definitely be a portion of a future West Bank Expressway, should one be built, and it would definitely provide much relief to the congestion in Donaldsonville. That is one of the main purpose and need, one of the main goals and objectives of this project. If anybody's ever gone through Donaldsonville in the afternoon after 3:30, you know what I'm talking about. It's backed up for miles. So this would definitely become a portion of a future capacity project on the West Bank.
Thank you for that. So,
Count-
and all, I'm sorry, and you hit it right. All right of way has been, is already there. The right of way's there?
On the,
Oh.
on the existing 3127, from
Right.
LA 70 all the way to Booty, the right-of-way is there. For this project, the right-of-way would be acquired after the completion of the NEPA process.
So is this from what is Highway 1 to Frank Knoll Road? That's phase 2?
Yeah, so that's,
3127 from LA 1, 308?
so phase 1 goes from the existing T intersection at Highway 70 and 3127
Okay.
to Bayou Lafourche. Phase 2 goes from Bayou Lafourche, which is actually at 943, that's right by Palo Alto. Goes from there, just north of where the Sugar House is, just north of McCall is where we would tie back into
Okay.
Highway
So
1.
943 is a bridge, it gets that
It
bridge.
hits the bridge, I got you. Great, go ahead, Will. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to respond to Councilman Dawson's remark about the federal funding. When we were in Senator Kennedy's office, he gave us 2, build and infra. I looked them both up. There was $1.5 billion, I think, or, I may have the number wrong, but there was a number of projects in the build. It used to be Tiger, and they renamed it Build. There were 2 projects in Louisiana that received build funds. last year in 2018. They are reauthorizing the program in the future. In the there was not quite as much money. It was like 900 million or something, and one project in Louisiana got some money. So they are giving that money out.
Competitively.
Yes.
Just to touch base on that as well, this project is one that would probably sit better than most for that grant funding process, given its rural nature and given its effect on commerce and industrial development. This is definitely a project that would sit well if you wanted to go after one of those type of grants.
We got to finish all these. Thank you.
Yes, you do need NEPA to get that money, so
Again.
part of it.
I said it out loud.
So we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion? Do we have any objection? None, so moved.
Move to adjourn.
No, we got one more.
Oh.
Item number 14. Approval of Shell Pipeline Company reimbursement agreement and proposal to extend the pipeline casing along Roddy Road and Weber City Road Safety Widening Improvement Project. Mike Inlow.
This is one of the utilities along Roddy Road for inside the Move Ascension program. Jeff has been working really close with the Shell contact. I believe it's Mr. Cambridge.
Damian Cambridge.
Yeah, go ahead and fill him in, Jeff.
This request is just to allow for the parish to enter into a reimbursement agreement for the actual work performed. What they're doing is taking, because we're widening and acquiring right-of-way along Roddy, they actually cross Roddy at 3 locations. And what they need to do is go ahead and dig out and extend their pipeline casing to the new right-of-way. And they have given us an estimate on that, where they cross Weber and also where they cross Roddy. But this reimbursement agreement is only to be paid for actual work done, labor hours, and the casing material costs.
What's the estimate?
Motion.
Looks like 426,000. Now, is this,
Is that for just one?
That's for the 2 pipeline crossings that cross Roddy. And there's
One's in John's
another one that crosses at Weber.
What?
Weber City's in John's district.
Yeah. It comes on a diagonal right north of Black Bayou Road.
Right.
Intersection, excuse me. And then it comes across Weber City.
There's pipeline crossings, littered through the Move Ascension program. You'll see it on the Henry Project, Roddy, of course, in multiple locations, and several of the other projects, where we'll be pretty much going through the same effort. In addition, we're working with all the utility companies because, as you know, there's like 9 along Roddy itself that need to relocate. Some they have to relocate at their own cost, some we have to pay for, and the majority will be some kind of cost share.
now, my question on that is, we have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, a second by Councilman Dempsey Lambert, and now for discussion. Some of them are our costs, some are cost sharing, some are at their cost. Is that just based on the contracts we have?
Well, it's based on prior rights situation, if they're within the existing right-of-way or if they're in private servitudes. And in some cases, like ETEL, for example, they're in both. So that would be an example of a cost share.
I mean, can these be renegotiated? Because 426,000, that's a lot of money for us to have to pay Shell back.
We can certainly go back to the table with them, but, relating that to similar projects in the past, I mean, it's not completely unreasonable. It is a very expensive process to extend these cases. Now, the good news is these are just estimates at a ceiling level. And typically we find that the actual work and the man-hours that go into it and the labor efforts are less than what their proposal ceilings are. I mean, I can't promise that until actually the work happens, but we have seen that in the past. But yeah, we can certainly.
I mean, this may bear, I mean, we can move forward with this, but may bear more discussion in the future because we've got a lot of pipelines. It's going to cost us a lot of money. If we want to do more road work in the parish, a lot of the employees of these companies live here in the parish and would benefit from this. And it's just costing us more and more money when they, really when this was first negotiated, we should have negotiated better, but that was probably 50 years ago, 40 years ago.
Oh, you mean?
But we have a motion, and we have a second.
Discussion.
We have discussion.
Yeah, one thing, that's why the delay on Parker Road, what is it, 929 roundabout, it's been delayed for so long for,
That's part of the reason.
was a pipeline.
Is-
It was in the
Rock and hard.
millions, it was in the millions.
And unfortunately, you can't case the band at
Right.
the PI in the pipeline, and that's the situation there. But we have a design now that we now have letters of no objection from the pipeline companies at that Parker Roundabout project.
That's kind of like,
Just want to bring that up, because it is costly.
Yeah,
It
you're right.
is, especially in that situation, you're in
Yeah.
a rock and a hard place. There's really, we had some design considerations we had to change because of that. I mean, you can't do anything with it, so.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So moved?
Move to adjourn.
So moved.